So I am recording a new podcast called Stars of Stage and Screen, and here for the song I'm going to sing the title of the song, which is Stars of Stage and Screen, and then you have to make a sentence which uses the key words that I have given you here on the screen. It can be related to the character, or it could just be something fun that comes into your head. Are you ready?
Yes. This podcast has spoilers for seasons 1 through 9 or all of The Office. Just keep that in mind.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
Evidently I wasn't ready. Try again.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
Live music from the 60s.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
Real blood, fake blood. I have to leave.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
Homeless, homed, less homes.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
The real Green Bratton.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
30 soup.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
Poker rules covered genius. Not Kevin.
Stars of Stage and Screen.
Andrea can be a real bitch. I'm Creed.
And welcome to Space Station USB 7 on the edge of the Trouble Belt.
I am 2612626.
And I am 1561414.
Scanning radio waves of ether, we went to Earth 9 and grabbed some DVDs.
And we will report back to you from our current age about these DVDs. So would you like to tell the good people 2612626 about today's episode, our debut episode of Stars of Stage and Screen?
Yes, we started off by watching almost 600 episodes of Last of the Summer Wine, and ultimately, after the rich character traits we saw in that programme, we chose to settle on Creed from The Office.
Clip 1, it's actually clip 0. Creed is sitting in Michael's office. He does not know we are watching. He turns the sumo wrestler's erect penis towards him with that pinched look of interest he does so well.
Clip 0, I just threw that in there because it was fun. He's the only character to get a little intro other than Michael and Andy and Dwight.
Let's give these people a little bit of biographical information about Creed, Bratton. In 60s, I made love to many women in the mud and rain. It's possible a man slipped in there would be no way of knowing.
He is a shifty charlatan with a distinct old man smell because he grows mung beans, and whose self-described job title at Dunder Mifflin is Quality Outfits. Cult leader and follower, involved in a number of cults, both as a leader and a follower. You have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader.
He is an enigma to himself. He is in limbo. His cluelessness, he apparently is unaware of how much everyone around him was scared of him because he's a frightening guy.
He is. When you come into the office with blood on, you're stealing from people. And then he had found out how good he was at chess. He stole from everybody on this. I don't know how if I was really that character, I'd be in jail for.
The difference between me and a homeless man is his job. I will do whatever it takes to survive, like I did when I was a homeless man.
Creed had a top 10 with the song Let's Live for Today in 1967. After a disastrous appearance at the Fillmore West in April 1969, Bratton was asked to leave the band. Didn't know that.
The real Creed is not in jail. A lot of similarities. I do speak Chinese. I do have 4 toes on 1 foot. Sells fake IDs to minors. Sprouts mung beans on damp paper towel, hence old man smell. And has definitely committed identity fraud at least once in his life.
His middle name is Roland. Fate intervened in the form of Devon getting a theatre contract to go on tour with a play, so his character got fired. Creed got to stay and everyone was happy. Is that also true?
That's true in the sense that the guy playing Devon got a contract because while the episode talked about having to fire one of the 2 of them, they were actually the only 2 extras who were still around at that time, and so they kind of were going to get rid of one of them, and it turned out the dude playing Devon got a contract to go on tour, and so Creed got to stay, which mirrored the episode.
That is good. I have some Devon notes as well in my head.
Go for it.
There's a deleted scene in like season 3 where Michael, when he goes to New York for the job interview, walks past Devon on the street, like begging for money.
Okay.
And they cut that out. And then he's rehired by Dwight in the finale when Creed is arrested, so he gets the job back.
Well, that's good. It's a long game, isn't it? And in the end, isn't it
Yeah.
all just a little bit arbitrary? Creed Roland Bratton claims to have been born on November 1,
195. He's a deviant, a former hippie, and a homeless man employed as the result of a drug using during his career as a rock musician in the 60s, combined with signs of apparent mental illness. Creed has a phenomenally poor memory.
He plays Spider Solitaire. I'm not sure what that is. He's never shown to do any work, though occasionally takes extreme measures to ensure his job security.
Yes, there's the one where Michael introduces him to all the kids, and he says, like, this is Creed, and he does something, and Creed just says, that is correct.
Most co-workers are not sure what he does there. He is unsettling or downright disturbing, sometimes describing violent crimes he has committed or plans to commit. He has claims to have been putting an iron lung as a child.
He killed a man named Creed Bratton and assumed his identity.
Creed states that he's been incarcerated before and that prison is where he obtained the name Creed.
Oh, I didn't know that either. He tries to hook Jim up with his daughter, which I don't think he has a daughter. There's twice that he mentions having kids, and I think he's just lying. When Jim says he already has a fiancée, Creed says, I thought you were gay, to which Jim then replies, why were you trying to set me up with your daughter? And he says, I don't know.
He submits a formal complaint to Toby to say he's sick of looking at the redhead all day and wants a seat facing the receptionist, the redhead being Meredith.
Yeah, which is funny because Pam is also a redhead. He smells human feces in Michael's office and says, is someone making soup?
Michael makes them have a funeral for a bird to cope with his grief. When Jim states that he's sure that wasn't real, Creed angrily replies, you're not real, man.
I do like that bit because it does sound like something Creed is making up, and it's just true. He is also extremely dishonest, with details emerging of his many scams, including faking his own death.
He's a kleptomaniac and regularly steals items from co-workers and charity drives, and even tears off a card from a gift at Phyllis's wedding in order to pretend that it's his. When asked of his age, it varies widely depending on what suits him at the time.
Creed states that he will soon be 82. In the next episode, Dunder Mifflin Infinity, the one after the fun run, he is attempting to look young and he dyes his hair black, which we will come to.
He then corrects himself, saying he'll be 30 November, and goes as far as to recruit a very elderly couple to pose as his parents for a family portrait, when it is unlikely that his actual parents could still be alive, given his own age.
In the episode Frame Toby, when the police enter the office on a drug investigation, he stands up and nervously puts his hands on his head. Then he hides in the conference room with the camera crew, pretending to talk to them until the cops leave, which implies that he's hiding drugs in the office that he never told anyone about, or weapons, like Dwight.
Creed doesn't have any weapons that we know of, right? But he's probably got some shady stuff that we don't know about.
Yes.
In Money, when explaining how he never goes bankrupt, he holds up his passport issued in the name William Charles Schneider, which is actually Creed Bratton's real birth name.
Nice. And that says 1943. So that's a third age.
Like Hans Moleman.
He is a apparent drug user marijuana. He strongly implies that he has done many types of drugs and knows where to obtain them at any time, often stating that he knows a guy from which he can buy everything from cannabis to tapeworm eggs smuggled into the country from Mexico. He correctly identifies the strain of marijuana in a picture Dwight shows him, which makes Dwight sad because he has less information than Creed. He's also shown knowing a detailed knowledge of different types of pain medication when he sees Meredith in the hospital, getting right in her face and naming a number of different brands to her. Codeine, Vicodin, Percocet, Benatil, Oxycontin, Paladone. And when she doesn't know, he sort of angrily storms off.
That's why you do the Oxy. A little hint there for our next Stars of Stage and Screen episode. Creed was never actually hired, but walked in one day and acted like he worked there. And he's been going every day. He now serves as the quality assurance manager. Teeters on the edge of homelessness and apparently lives in Toronto, where he spends 3 nights a week so as to milk the welfare state and sleeps under his desk for the rest of the week.
In another episode, he reveals to Jim that he lives in Scranton near the quarry and invites Jim to throw things down there with him, to which Jim answers somewhat sarcastically, definitely we should. But I think Jim does like Creed.
Do you think the other members of the office all like him? Do you think anyone dislikes him other than obviously Dwight, who doesn't like anyone?
Angela doesn't like him.
She
I would
doesn't
say.
like anyone, yeah.
I would say everybody else likes him. Oscar and Stanley are sticking out to me because, again, Stanley doesn't really like anybody. And I'd say Oscar pities most of them more than anything.
Kind of. That's where they went eventually with Oscar, that he knows they're all pathetic and he's the only one who's kind of fairly well adjusted.
I like Creed because he's sort of half innocent and childlike. Like, I don't know if it's just the expressions he makes, or there's certain things that are very wholesome, and then you have the complete flip of that, which is like he's the darkest character by a long mile, and he's doing a lot of off-screen bad things, which reminds me of a certain wife of a renowned cartoon Christian.
He definitely has a hidden narrative that we would uncover were this a series, but unfortunately Stars of Stage and Screen is probably a one-off. So shall we get to the content and get back to some more biographical information that we've clearly just copied and pasted off Wikipedia and other office fan sites?
Yes.
Notebooks out, plagiarists. Clip 1. Season 2, episode 5. The first time we see Creed, ? Creed is in Michael's office, sat opposite Michael. It is Halloween. He is wearing just a cape, a very weak vampire costume. Michael says, I have to fire someone today. And Creed says, fine, fire someone else. Fire Devon. He's terrible. Creed is very determined. We don't see much determined Creed. Anyway, I am so much better at my job than Devon. He's determinedly tapping the table. Michael says, okay, well, I already picked you, and you know that. Unless I go through with this, you're always going to look at me as the guy who almost fired you. And Creed goes into full persuasion mode, eyes wide, hands up. No, I will forget so fast. You will be my savior, the guy who gave me my life back. Michael is very worried, and Creed continues, thank you. Creed stands. I knew you'd see it my way, Michael. God bless. Puts his hands together, bows. You're a fine man, and walks out. Michael looks down and says, don't. Creed says, listen, you will not regret this. Devon is terrible. No one's going to miss him. Michael keeps looking down. Michael stares at the window as Creed leaves.
I do think this is the first proper Creed scene, because it's very early season 2, and they were all just extras in season 1, I think. It was way more similar to the English Office, where it was just about like 4 or 5 characters, and then season 2 onwards is when they started developing the rest of the Office, isn't it, and giving them personalities. But you basically learn everything you need to know about Creed for the whole 9 seasons in this one scene. He covers everything that Creed is. He's got no respect for Michael, as none of them do. He goes into that room knowing that his job isn't in danger because he can manipulate Michael. He's extremely confident in his abilities to manipulate people. Like, there's no fear. He knows he's going to walk into that room. He also has no regard for any of his co-workers, which we learn here, as he doesn't care about Devon at all. He's happy to let Devon's life go down the tube. But we see that there's a clip where there's like an episode where something gets printed onto a watermark, and it's just Creed's fault. He says something like, I'm supposed to check this paper like once a month, and the 1 year that I decide to not go, something happens. And then he just basically spends the rest of the episode manipulating the story to the point where this completely innocent random woman from this factory gets fired because of Creed pinning all the blame on her. And this is like an early version of that with Devon, where whoever he was up against, he would have done this to. There's no one in that office that he's close to.
Yes, but I do think a later Creed might have threatened to make something happen to Devon. So as to, Michael, if you don't want to fire him, I can take care of this. And just sat there with those bulging eyes.
Yeah, that's true. That would have been good. He also, I think it's worth noting that he's not wearing just a cape.
What is he wearing? Well, I mean, he's not naked aside from the cape, but his costume seems to involve him simply wearing his regular clothes with a cape. And
it was like my 4th watch of that clip when I realised he was wearing a cape at all, because it just fits into his character.
Yeah,
the sort of little noise he makes when he's leaving, like the good sort of noise or whatever it is that shows Creed's sort of wackiness. And I don't think they didn't have Creed all planned out at this point. I imagine real Creed heavily influenced the story Creed's trajectory.
Yes.
Maybe they thought he was going to be like a wacky old man, but the dark stuff and it's a weird choice to have him just be Creed Bratton. It's a very weird thing to do.
I saw him talking about it on the video, and he says that he was working on the Bernie Mac show. I'm not sure what he was doing there, some kind of background stuff, and he met the dude who was showrunner at the office, and they pitched him he basically pitched him the Creed character. Is the story he told, and he wrote a bunch of stuff related to Creed, and apparently they liked it, thought it was funny, so they brought him in, and that was more or less it. So he basically just did create his own character based on a bizarre version of himself, which in itself is fun.
The guy who writes it is or created it is Mike Schur, who is very, very good at this kind of like character comedy.
What else has he done?
Parks and Rec is the other strong example for me. It's like a spin-off, but not. They almost did a crossover between The Office and Parks and Rec, but it was just going to be that The Office in Parks and Rec ordered a new copier, and they got Dunder Mifflin's copier, but they binned that idea off. He does Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well, which I've never really. I enjoy it, I think, but it definitely fits into the same box. They've got like 8 or 9 characters. They've all got these traits, and the comedy just comes from what would each of these people be like in this scenario. And that's just The Office, isn't it?
Yes.
And the other guy is Greg Daniels, who is prominent Simpsons writer.
He's the one that he pitched the idea to. He's the one who liked it. He's also apparently the one who allowed him to do the song at the end.
Nice. I'll just say this about Greg Daniels moving forward. I imagine he's been very influential because all of the people in The Office could easily transfer to Springfield and it wouldn't feel like a place. I can see Creed as a fourth Grandpa Jasper, the old Jewish man, and Creed in the retirement home. Like Creed being the character he is now and doing the things he does, but being in Springfield doesn't feel like a place at all.
No, he fits in well with Gil, with Herman, even someone like Comic Book Guy. There's a whole bunch of dodgy characters in Springfield.
Same with Dwight. The one spin-off I would like to see more than any is I would love to see Dwight on Lost.
Dwight on Lost, interesting, yes, and that's a possibility. You sure you wouldn't like to see Dwight in some kind of farm-based sitcom?
No, I want to see him on the Lost Island, as Lost completely as it is, but with Dwight there for every scene to patronise people and tell them what they're doing wrong. He would basically be Locke if Locke was rude and sarcastic.
Very funny. Dwight is very, very good. He easily could have been. He's too high up on the ladder of listers to make it into our show. Unfortunately, we are capped at a C-lister mostly. The occasional B creeps in, but Dwight is a double A-lister. Shall we move on to clip 2?
Yes.
We are in talking head mode. Creed is in the room. He talks about www.creedthoughts.gov. www.creedthoughts. Cut to intern Ryan. Creed asked me last year how to set up a blog. Wanting to protect the world from being exposed to Creed's brain, I opened up a Word document on his computer and put an address at the top. I've read some of it. It says Creed's thoughts.
Did you read what it says?
Yeah, I've got it here. That's not even the end of my sentence. What does Ryan say after that? He said, I read some of it, even for the internet. He says, even for the internet, it's
pretty shocking.
It's pretty shocking. There you go. Yeah. So there's a bit where you can see his screen, but then on the NBC website, the entire blog is there. They have like 40 blog posts on the NBC website.
On the Creed one?
Yeah.
Now, I've seen a lot of bonus content. I've seen a lot of mini clips and webisodes that they used to do. And I did write down what it says on the Word document, but I didn't look into it any further than that.
Oh, I looked considerably further into it, several hours further into it.
I wonder if Creed himself wrote them.
It's possible, but it's unlikely. Why don't we read a few together?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you read that first one, and then I'll read the next one.
Yeah, this is the one that you see on the screen in the episode.
Another start bit says, like, "Hey, it's Creed from Cyberworld. What do you guys think is the best kind of car?" To me, you can't beat motorcycles. They're small and dangerous. They just can't be trusted. I got into a car accident yesterday and I just took off. It didn't look too bad. The guy was making a big deal. The guy was making a big deal out of it, but come on, dogs don't live forever.
Sometimes when I'm sick or feeling blue, I drink vinegar. I like all kinds: balsamic, vodka, orange juice leaves. I like baseball, but it can be necessary at times. Like, why do they need to hit a home run? Why can't they just hit it to the hostel, the hotel they're staying at? It's close enough.
I like that in that one it says the 4 types of vinegary names, only one of them is vinegar. The other 3 are just different things.
Working in an office is fine, but I'd rather be a millionaire. Elaborate on this. It's interesting. Maybe trademark it too.
He wants to trademark the idea of being a millionaire.
I think the quote, I believe, is what he's trying to quote. With the concept of being a millionaire would be good to copyright, and you would probably make $1 million from that. Very apt.
Yes.
Today in my office, where I worked as Director of Quality Assurance, we went to the beach for some reason that was never adequately explained. When we were there, our manager told us to eat hot coals. I thought that was a little bit untoward, so I ate a fish. Then a woman I've literally never seen before in my entire life started talking very loudly about something involving Halpert. She was agitated, I'd say. From what I could guess, she was definitely on drugs of some kind, perhaps cocaine or maybe drones. Also, she is a knockout. She reminds me of a young Daphne du Maurier. Also, stupidly, I ate the fish bones. I told myself never again after the last time. But then you turn around and bam, they're in my mouth. I also ate 55 hot dogs in 15 minutes, which is a world record.
I do remember that scene very well. We're at the beach. Do you remember it?
Yeah, he eats a raw fish. He catches a raw fish with his hands and eats it.
I did see one the other day, another Creed clip from the last season, where that kid, the fake Dwight, the one who looks like me, he says something about like, surely all that magic isn't coming from 2 mouths, and you just see Creed in the background mouth. That's what she said to himself, and it's like 2 seasons after Michael's gone. So I like the impact and the continuation of it.
Call back.
Everybody remembers April showers bring May flowers, but no one remembers how the rest of that goes, which I find so frustrating.
Prediction: the Orioles will win the World Series over the Pirates in 7 games. Prediction: the space program will be renamed the Outer Space Program by 2060. Prediction: someday we will be able to travel faster than sound. We will break the sound barrier. Prediction: note, need more predictions.
Reminder: Michael's safe combo 26-32-20.
This is very similar to a diary that you may find on a totally unrelated podcast about a Christian wife.
I did make that note that this is very, very diary-esque.
But there's many more. If you want to go onto the NBC, it's now stored safely on the Internet Database Archive. And there's a whole bunch of them. Some of them are fun, real fun.
The CBDB, IMDb. I like that clip a lot because it is the childlike thing I was talking about, like the sort of innocent side to Creed. Like, what do you guys think is the best kind of car? That kind of, but then instantly within the same sentence, you get the Dark Creed where he's murdered someone's dog and ran off. I also this is unrelated to Creed, but it's worth noting that Ryan has the strongest character undevelopment over 9 years. And this clip that he's in here, I think this is the last example of normal Ryan, because the episode after this is when he's the boss now. And from that point onwards, but if you compare Creed and Ryan at the end, neither of them are weirder than the other one. Where at this point, Ryan is still very self-aware.
The joke with Ryan is he goes off the deep end, right? So there's all this stuff behind that he's just acting nice and kind when he's in a real small, like when he's in a real unpowerful position. And as soon as he gets a sniff of power, he just loses his mind. And then from then on, any time he gets the chance to do anything bad, he will. And Creed also loses his mind when he gets power, but he was already way off the deep end before that happened. Yeah,
Ryan as an old man could be much more similar to Creed than you'd think at this point. But I just don't think they knew what to do with him, and they didn't need 2 gyms. So at this point, they decided to make a conscious choice to just sort of ruin him as a person.
But he was one of the producers of the show, right? He was BJ Novak.
Yeah,
he was right in there from the beginning. So he like you see those early pictures of the cast when there's only Dwight, Michael, Jim, basically. I think maybe Pam's there, and Ryan's the fifth one. So he was right there from the start, and so he had a big hand in essentially undeveloping or developing Ryan into this like
maniac.
into the bad guy, right? If there is a bad guy.
It is interesting that because this is where they were just trying to parallel the English one, I think, where they had the intern come in to sort of episode 1 is Ryan coming into the office, so it's technically Ryan's story at the start. So I imagine BJ Novak had a big hand in Ryan's downfall and turn sort of like creedisms towards the end. But yeah, none of that's relevant. I just thought I'd bring it up.
He's the anti-Jim, right? He is the anti-Jim. So they decided not just to make him not another Jim, but to make him everything Jim would never be.
Yes.
I think maybe one day there will be a Ryan cast, but not anytime soon.
No.
Clip 3. Dunder Mifflin Infinity Season 4, Episode 2. Pam stirs as we see classic BOH shot of black, spiky-haired youth. Her eyes are wide. Man walks. Jim grins. Dwight stirs. Andy and woman fridge wife looks on. Man turns. We see it is Creed, dyed of black hair and spiky hair. He sits and grabs paper. Oscar approaches. Creed, everything okay? He's wearing a big loosely tied tie. Cool biz. Creed says, everything's cool, dude. Smiley, nothing's wrong. Relax. Cut to talking head. Young Creed says, I'm 30. Well, in November, I'll be 30 with cold, cold eyes.
She's called Phyllis.
That's right, yes.
Another great clip. This is in response to Ryan. He's doing this because of Ryan. So Ryan has already, within 2 episodes, changed that much that he's now worried that Ryan, who was trying to protect the world from him, is basically now, gonna sack him because he's old. Not because he's crazy, because he's old. He's desperate to not lose his job, which is somewhat out of character. He seems more holistic than that. And he's desperate to keep this specific job. And
Creed works, that it's easier to keep hold of this crappy job than it is to go out there into the dark.
That's ultimately an arc that gets tied up as well, that he learns. He sort of lets go of that fear, doesn't he, at the end? We'll come back to that. But yeah, he's driven here by the fear of losing his job. He will do what it takes. And is he working on a level of delusion that he thinks he's pulling this off, or does he just not care? That is he just committed and he doesn't care how bad it looks?
Well, this is the mystery of Creed, right? Is he psychotic and thinks that he can go in there and dye his hair and people will believe that he is actually quite young? But I think the abyss beneath the surface of Creed is that he's not anchored to reality in any way. So maybe he believes his own lies, but it doesn't matter. As long as he gets the result he needs, that's the only thing that matters.
He's very open as well. Like this, he comes across being really open in this clip, but it's a lie. But usually he's just sort of like when Jim speculates that when Creed was his secret Santa and he speculates that Creed forgot and just threw in an old tattered shirt from his house into a plastic bag and gave it to him. And then it just cuts to Creed saying, yes, that's exactly what happened. And then there's the one where someone complains about his smell. And he instantly just says, yeah, I know what they mean. I've got these mung beans and they give a very distinct old man smell. So he's usually very open about stuff. So it's surprising that at this point he wasn't. But yeah, I do like that he's committed just saying he's 30. And that he assumes they will always think that he had this black hair. Even though they saw him,
it doesn't matter. He doesn't care. Like if someone asks him, he'll just deny it. He just said, "Yes, I've always had this."
Yeah, and it's nice that Oscar is the one to confront him about it. Oscar's the one who doesn't let stuff slide, where everybody else will just sort of let it go because they're not really interested. Oscar's the guy who will keep. He needs the answer.
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't seen much beyond about season 3, and I haven't really seen much of Oscar. See a lot of clips of Kevin because he does this funny things with the chili and all that, and Andy. You don't see a lot of clips of Oscar. He didn't really do much funny stuff or super noteworthy stuff.
Now, Oscar's the most sort of wholesome and realistic person in the entire office, I think. He's the only one you could kind of meet. The only sort of comedy that he dances very stupidly. That's sort of the biggest funny trait that he has, that he dances really stupidly but with a really serious face.
Like Elaine.
But maybe less. It's more coordinated. Like it's sort of he does like a specific sort of dance every time, but he looks really determined and serious on his face. Elaine at least looked like she was having fun.
Yeah, Elaine got way into it, but Oscar, maybe he takes it quite seriously.
Yeah.
Clip 4. Crime Aid.
Yeah.
Season 5, episode 4. We get Talking Head back. He's in a suit. Nobody steals from Creed Bratton and gets away with it. He half grins with a sinister, menacing look. The last person to do this disappeared. His name. His face turns cold. He whispers, Creed Bratton.
This one is more meta, or this is where it gets confusing to me. Is he, because obviously he's called Creed Bratton in real life, and we've seen, you can find pictures of him in the grassroots band. So is he implying that he, at a much younger age, stole the life of this Creed Bratton guy and then joined the band, etc.? Or is he saying that this happened somewhat recently and he's just taking this guy's sort of past as his story?
He definitely can play guitar, because on the ship in that deleted scene, he takes the guitar from Michael and plays some wailing blues. And of course, at the very end, which you'll see later, he comes out and does some pretty nice picking guitar. So whether or not he actually stole the life of Creed Bratton from the grassroots, or he is the same guy, it's hard to know. One thing's for sure is that I certainly believe him that a man called Creed Bratton tried to steal from him and ended up with less life in him. I think this is where it reminds me of Dwight in some of these situations, where Dwight will suddenly turn macabre.
The difference with Dwight is he's incredibly lawful, whereas Creed is the opposite. They both have that sort of extreme responses to certain things. Like the time Dwight's teaching them self-defense, he just starts teaching the office self-defense, and then Jim basically sets it up where Dwight is fighting himself. He can't allow either side to win, so it's just Dwight fighting himself for a good couple of minutes, but without being able to let one of the Dwights win. And that's very Creed, but everything Dwight does is, in his head, it's above the law, except for he has ninja Death Stars hidden in the roof and stuff, and weapons around the office hidden, but they are for protection, whereas with Creed it would be for a devious reason.
Exactly. Learn your rules. You better learn your rules.
So there's the same level of stupid though, but one of them is on the right side of the law.
Mostly. I mean, Dwight did set fire to the office and lock everybody in.
Yeah, but again, everything Dwight does is for he's quite cold, but it's in his head it's for the benefit of everybody, whereas Creed is just a sort of flat out murderer.
Speaking of which, clip 5, season 6, episode 10, Murder. Creed enters the meeting room with a spring in his step. Sorry I'm late, boss. What's going on? Everyone is in the room. Michael emphatically, in Southern gentleman accent, says, Sir, there has been a murder, and you are a suspect. Creed takes this very seriously and quietly says, Okay, hang on just a second. Let me settle in, and I'll be right back. The calm calculation of a serial killer. He leaves the room. Michael says, Very good, very good. Now, no one was there in the wine cellar. Cut was looking out of the window as Creed sprints across the parking lot to his car and screeches away at top speed. Very Simpsons.
Very Mo. His response is way more professional. He doesn't miss a beat, and he doesn't display any fear. He just responds very, he's done this many times, probably in this office. He's just very, very casual. And then, as soon as he's out of the view of his co-workers, he just belts it to the car. I don't know where he goes after this or what his plan is. He probably just waits it out for a couple of days. Yeah, his response is super professional and super easygoing.
He knows he can get out of it if he stays calm and just heads for the exit. He seems he's not his first murder rodeo.
No, it also definitely means that he's killed something or someone in the last 24 hours.
There's a very good chance. Teetering on the very edge, you can imagine him prowling the city at night with no cause for concern for the safety of anyone he encounters.
No, and they have the whole Scranton Strangler thing, like the storyline later on,
Yeah.
where Toby goes on like jury duty. But there is a lot of theories out there that Toby was the Scranton Strangler, but there isn't anything to suggest it was Creed, which is good. I don't think if Creed's a serial killer, it's not in a structured way.
No, you can't imagine him going around and systematically strangling people. Although he's got his gardening, he's very knowledgeable about certain areas. So yeah, I would not put it past him. In many ways, it's just too obvious.
Yeah, they never solve it anyway. They never imply anything directly about it being anybody. But
do you think the writers knew? Because there's an episode of Community where there's the ass crack bandit, and I think Harmon said he never actually decided who did it.
The Strangler thing all gets wrapped up like it's just a random guy. Toby's sort of like partner in crime, or like partner throughout the last 2 seasons, is Catherine Tate. So I think he's doing it to somewhat impress her, and he comes out in like a net brace because he's been strangled by the Strangler. But the theory is that he confessed to it was him. He got this other guy sent down, and then he confessed to this other guy that it is him, and this guy strangled him.
Oh, the irony. But not to death.
No. Creed would enjoy all of this as well, the sort of darkness. He definitely enjoys the sort of dark side of life. He isn't just sort of randomly thrown into it and doesn't have a choice, or like, whereas Maud, it's speculated that Maud Flanders has a sort of like, there's a deep-seated darkness that she doesn't understand, whereas I think Creed enjoys the darkness.
Creed has looked into his soul and he has realised that it's a nice place that he wants to stay, but it's also very, very dark.
He sort of treats life as if it's a video game. Like, he makes his own choices, and it regardless of the consequences, and there's nothing that can sort of shock him into stopping. Like, it's obvious there's a trail of bodies behind Creed, whether they're intentional or not, because he's just doing what he wants when he wants, and it's the consequences aren't his problem.
Do as thou wilt.
Yeah.
Clip 6. Season 7, episode 25, Search Committee, Part 1. Creed zips in a Porsche, number plates, new manager. He parks the car sideways across the front of the door. Looks like he's relatively early. He's all fresh in a suit jacket, looking like Phil Collins, very pro. It's a wonderful morning at Dunder Mifflin, or as I like to call it, Great Bratton, he says. Keep it running, throws his keys into the middle of the car park and just heads into the office.
This is my favourite Creed scene, I think. Full Creed scene.
This is a bit of a sneaky one by you because this is like 4 different Creed scenes all squashed into one.
But it's all one long scene. It all continues on
It's
from
a
each other.
montage, kind of a montage.
Yeah, it's just showing Creed as the boss, isn't it? Which has only happened because he's the longest serving person there. Which, again, they've played on that a couple of times, like when the guy gets decapitated. Ed something. I want to say his name is Ed Truck, but I think that's wrong because he gets decapitated by a truck. There's only really Michael and Creed who remember Ed being the boss. So they'd already set up from a long time that Michael and Creed are like the longest serving people there. And also Michael and Phyllis went to high school together.
I remember that one because he's making fun of her age, right? And then she says we went to school together.
But no, this is great. Creed's just sort of been given it. And at this point, obviously, Michael's left. They didn't want to give Dwight the job instantly because then that's the whole sort of Dwight story tied up. And I think just from a writing point of view, they thought, who would the funniest person to take over be? And it was probably between Creed and Kevin.
So does he just get the one episode?
Yeah, he basically has this montage is Creed as the boss, basically. We don't really see much outside of this other than...
Does he get fired quickly? We just don't know.
They just replace him. I don't think he gets fired from it at all. I think he's just he's like the acting manager until they get a proper manager.
Okay. Who did they give it to in the end? What's his name?
Oh yeah, James Spader.
James Spader.
Ultron. That's a great character.
Spader?
California.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw a few clips.
Yeah, he's great. He's probably the best late edition character. He's just far too intense. There's an episode, the Halloween episode, he just spends the entire episode discovering what everybody's fears are. And then he gives a speech at the end that incorporates everybody's fear. And then just leaves. But no, he's a great character. Okay. He's probably the next Office cast, I would say.
Maybe he's our next castcaster, and that would be good because I don't know that. I'm just going through Seinfeld one more time now, but I think once Seinfeld is done, I'm watching Silicon Valley as well. But once those two are done, I'm going to get back on and do the rest of The Office finally. A mere 15 years too late.
And Creed just goes back to doing what he's doing without any sort of issue. And Creed's just holistic. He was given this opportunity, he took it. He didn't do as bad a job as Dwight. He just was nonsensical.
Well, let's hear a little bit about that nonsense and his stoicism. Cut to Office talking head. Do I love being manager? I love my kids. I love real estate. I love ceramics. I love wrestling. Cut to him talking to new secretary, not Pam. Find out what language this is and talks nonsense as she jims the camera.
She does. She's, I can't even remember her name. They brought her in to sort of get in the way of Jim and Pam, I think. And then the actress said, I don't want to be that person. She's gone by the next episode.
She didn't want to feel that pain of getting in the middle because then they brought in Kimmy Schmidt. She didn't get in the way of the two of them, right?
Oh, no. They bring her in like season 5.
Erin, right?
Idris Elba hires her, I believe.
Idris Elba plays the manager for a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I did see a few episodes with him.
And she sticks around. She's a great addition as well, Erin.
Interesting.
But no, she has no Jim and Pam.
Me being someone who only watched the first 5 seasons, when I see those later characters, I instantly think they're going to be terrible. And so I've judged them from the outside. But now I'm sure once I've watched the whole 9 seasons, I'll be like, oh yeah, I do love Erin and Robert California. And who's another great late addition?
To be honest, there's none of the long-standing ones are bad. I like Catherine Tate, but just because I really enjoyed her in Doctor Who, yes.
I think Donna. She had her moment. No, I don't think she was funny, even though she said, "Oh, computer says no. How very dare you?" Garbage.
No, I don't mind her presence in the office as much as some people did. She's not particularly developed, but she's not a bad character. And then there's they call them like New Jim and New Dwight in the last season. Both of those are pretty good as well. Both of those are pretty good additions. So there isn't anybody who... Andy's the worst character by a mile, and he's in it from like season 3 onwards.
I have a soft spot for him. I think he does. What's his name? The guy who plays him.
I like him, Ed Helms. I think he's great.
I think he does a really good job in that. I like Andy. I do a Stars of Stage and screening about Andy.
All of the choices are intentional, but they do just come across. He's supposed to be annoying, but it's supposed to be funny. But sometimes he is just annoying.
Cut to Creed at whiteboard. No, we're not there yet. Creed is in meeting room looking at his notepad. He's splitting the group into 2. Okay, team building. On this side of the room, Stanley, Hollis, Jim, Elroy. Very professional. Pam, Meredith, Phyllis, Creed, including himself. Jim, talking head. He never called a meeting. We pan out to see only Meredith and Kevin are in the room. Jim looks on. Oh, Jim.
Yeah, most of those names are fake as well.
Well, I didn't know if Elroy and Hollis were actual people because I'd never come across them before.
No, and then he puts Pam on both sides of the room as well, I think. And then he includes himself.
He looks very professional. That's the funny bit, right? He comes across and he is looking the part, but he's absolutely competent and batshit and all of these things. Not least of all, the next bit, when we cut to Creed at the whiteboard in the main room, he has written the letters Bo body down the board. He's gesturing wildly. Bo body. What does the B stand for? Cut to Pam. What are we doing? Creed. We're making acronyms. What does the B stand for? Jim is puzzled. Oh, every man, Jim. Kevin calls across, business. Creed is happy with this. I like it. He writes BIZNU as we cut away and Stanley stares at the camera.
The nice thing about this is Creed is actually trying to do, in his own Creed way, he's trying to do a good job. He's been not knowing what to do for the last 7 years at his job, or however long. Like, he doesn't even really know what he does. And he doesn't try hard at all. He's been given this chance to be the manager, and he's really trying. Like, he's trying to, he's holding meetings and he's coming up with business acronyms and stuff. They're all completely useless. But he's trying more than Michael tried.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. There's a thing as well where Pam gives him 2 pictures to look at to keep him distracted for the afternoon to find the differences between the 2, but they're just the same picture.
Now that's the thing you give to Dwight. I don't believe that Creed would spend time on that.
I do.
Here's what Creed would do. Creed would take a felt tip pen and he'd just draw 8 random circles on that picture and say those are different.
Yes, that's true, actually.
Dwight would sit there with a magnifying glass, or Andy with a magnifying glass, and spend the entire afternoon doing it. But who am I to know? I'm not an office writer. They wrote it. Obviously, what they say is true. That goes.
It's nice to see him as the manager, though, and to just sort of get this opportunity. And again, he's just, when it's taken off him, he doesn't care.
Well, I think a British sitcom would never have got to that situation, but they would have gone with it, and you would end up with the British Empire kind of idea, although he's more of obnoxious. I don't know if you've ever watched that show. But incompetent, Faulty Towers-esque, but again, Faulty Towers, those are Faulty's, aggressive, and just incompetent management. But I just don't think the American audience would have enjoyed that quite as much. They want to get back to the schmaltzy, kind of semi-incompetent.
Well, the best sort of thing about Michael is that Michael's a terrible manager, but he's a really good salesman. But there's times when Michael does do his job very like he gets the job done and he does it well.
Well, that's the whole premise of that episode where he takes that dude out to dinner and he's got Jan with him and she's trying to stop him all the way through.
Michael does a good enough job that it makes sense that he's the manager sometimes, whereas I don't think they would have been able to do that with Creed.
You could have taken it down a few more episodes where he basically pushed the office to the brink of bankruptcy. You know,
yeah.
Creed would have, once he got in there and realized the opportunities had, he would have been pulling all the scams of bypassing and offering. But that's what he does with he sells off all the office equipment, doesn't he? When he thinks the branch is closing, and then when he realizes it's not, he just doesn't mention anything and uses the money to buy like gifts for everyone, which is very nice of him. But that's the kind of stuff you could have fun with a few episodes of him really taking advantage of that. But I think that at that point, The Office had become much more of almost a sitcom, like a Friends style, where really you were just interested in the ins and outs of Jim and Pam's kind of life, and more or less everything else was just window dressing.
I would say they went the opposite route.
And, I know I've never even seen any of those episodes. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Jim isn't. There's like 7 or 8 episodes in the last season that Jim was just not in because he was busy doing like a film.
Doing his macho John Savage films or whatever he calls.
Yes. But characters, there's a lot more little character moments in the last 2 seasons because they had to compensate for the lack of Michael. You know, they brought Will Ferrell in for a couple of episodes to ease the transition, and that worked very well.
Yeah.
But they've just, at this point, Andy is just the manager now. And it's sort of too similar to Michael for me. So the best moments are the ones that are sort of just little character-based moments.
Yes, that makes sense. Because Andy, in that position of manager, you imagine he would be very similar to Michael. Slightly less competent in some ways, but slightly smarter in others. But he's a slightly more middle-class version of Michael.
Oh, no, Andy's like complete upper class, like rich, like wildly rich parents and stuff.
Yeah. Clip 7, season 9, episode 23, the finale. The closet door opens. We see clotheslines, boxes, vests, socks, hanging, standard fur. Listerine is there. Creed emerges from the bathroom in his boxer shorts, brushing his teeth. He has a long white beard and is bald. It has been a while. Ooh, he says and stops, shocked. Cut to whole remaining crew sat around. Daryl, Toby, Jim, and Pam, Stanley, that woman off John Hamm's show. Cut to suited and bearded Creed playing a beautiful acoustic number, almost fourth wall breaking. Some nice finger picking as we scan the room, very earnest, sad song. I saw a friend today, it's been a while. Pam on Jim's lap, sad Meredith with bottle. We forgot each other's names, but it didn't matter. Dwight and Angela, sad Kevin, but it didn't matter. Because deep inside, feelings still remain the same, and all the faces that I know, and all the faces that I know, had the same familiar glow.
Creed wrote this song for this specific reason as well, I think, which is nice. This is the most, and it's only because it's the last episode that Creed is this sincere in saying these nice things. Like, they should have, in my opinion, they should have just stuck with him not caring about them all, because he never did. I believe a year has passed between like the penultimate episode and the final. So Creed went missing, or like Creed was supposed, like he's on the run from the police. I can't remember why, but I think it's just like
his own death.
That's it. And I like that he's just been secretly living in the office successfully for an entire year. Like, I imagine he just has been sneaking in when they've been leaving work, and because they're all there late on this event. I think it's Dwight and Angela's like after wedding party.
Okay, that makes sense. I wasn't sure if the office had been closed and they'd all gone back for something.
No, it's just sort of like the end of the night sort of situation. But some people have left, some have not. But yeah, it's very sincere of Creed, and I don't really buy it. It's a finale move.
That's why I said the fourth wall, because it feels like it's Creed Bratton the actor, not.
Yeah.
It feels like, hey, we've got a guest star here, Creed Bratton from the Grassroots. It feels like the fourth wall is broken, and I don't know whether that would have ruined the effect of the finale, but I feel not. I feel that it's a bit of a tearjerker. It's
very American. It's very schmaltzy, I think is the word, but it's a exceptional finale.
It's the way you got to go with it. The Office was good at doubling down on the schmaltz and still making it funny. I think Friends went that route as well, whereas Seinfeld's finale was just garbage. They took a left turn into a totally just a bizarre plot that they would never have employed at any other point in the season. It's almost like a sabotage. And then Community's finale, which is like a meta finale, is amazing.
Yeah, I think with this, they had the opportunity as well to, like, all the characters know that they've been in a TV show and they know that it's ending. So they don't have to find a convenient way around these, like, last episode conversations that people have, and they sort of feel like a place in other shows because life is just carrying on as normal. Whereas they are all aware that The Office is ending, and they can talk about it. So a lot of the speeches at the end, it does get a bit meta. It does get very like it's just the actors sort of saying goodbye rather than the characters.
Which is nice. It's a fine line to tread. And I did
Which
feel...
is Andy Bernard, Ed Helms recently posted. He said something really sincere in the last episode, and then he posted it with a picture like a couple of weeks ago with the same quote. They all clearly still have a lot of love for The Office, which is nice. They all still post little inside jokes and are all connected and happy to be connected to it.
Well, it's just gone back on NBC's streaming service, right? So they've all just got a nice big check, probably. And they're talking about a reunion. Yeah, everyone involved seems to have good things to say.
A Christmas special would be perfect for it.
Yeah, it seems like one of those shows that you could bring back.
The Office would only work in the context of like a Christmas special or something, because again, most of them don't work in that office anymore, so they wouldn't be able to. It'd have to be like a Scrubs season 9 style reboot where there'd be a couple of characters and then new ones, or it would just have to be like a special, like the documentary packaged up for everybody. Yeah, yes. Which is what the finale was anyway. It was a year after the documentary had aired.
Oh, okay. Cut to Michael and Cole burning something. Dwight is playing a green recorder. Cut to disco dancing with Bob Refrigerator and people in meeting room standing, and Ryan, Kimmy Schmidt. Think I must have known them somewhere once before. Cut to talking head Beard Creed. It all seems so very arbitrary. I applied for a job at this company because they were hiring. I took a desk at the back. We see Creed tie and shirt in business mode and doing something shady in his desk because it was empty. Very sincere. But no matter how you get there or where you end up, human beings have this miraculous gift of making that place home. Pam pops in and takes the painting she sold to Michael. Creed, let's do this. We see him being led away by 2 cops. Tearjerker, staring blankly into space. What has he done this time?
This is cool. This is a very good, very apt ending for Creed. It wasn't a happy ending, but it was. And he's finally ready to... But even when he was on the run from the police, he chose to stay in the office still. Like, there's something about that place he feels very comforted by, and it's not the people or the job, but he's now ready to move on and find comfort in prison. Like, he's acknowledged that wherever he is, he'll sort of be okay, which is cool.
Yeah, and essentially, he's probably going to get out using what some of his many skills, his wily wits, and his vicious left hook to kind of get out.
And everybody gets a nice little conclusion, even Catherine Tate.
Well, let's move on. Time is running away from us, and let's have a look, even though there's many, many more Creed facts. Maybe we'll do a Creed cast too. But let's have a look at a couple of Creed arts and see what the world of arts has got to do out there with Creed Bratton. So here is a candle that you can buy from Little Shop of Wicked Co. What do we see here, Zasla?
It is a very sort of plain label on the candle that says, "Have you ever seen a foot with 4 toes?" Which I'm imagining that's the name of the candle. Either that or Creed Bratton is the name of the candle. Then it says Creed Bratton in the middle in the office font. And then the scents associated with this candle are orange, cedar, and a distinct older man smell.
And I wonder whether it does smell of distinctly old man, whether they went through with the old
That's
thing.
cool. That's one of the better Creed quotes as well, as he says it to a group of children. That's his icebreaker when Michael brings it. It's like, bring your kids to work day, and Michael introduces Creed, and that's his opening line.
Does he take his shoes off to show them?
He starts to, yeah, and then he's stopped. Just on the candle note, Jan recently has started selling Serenity by Jan candles to raise money for something.
Like in the
In
real
real
world?
life, yeah.
Nice. Here it is, a phone case with a very nice caricature. I'm not sure how much it really looks like Creed, but it's Strike, Scream, Run, a sketch that we did not see, a clip we did not see today, in which I guess Toby is teaching them about self-defense. And what does Creed do?
He smacks, I think it's Meredith. It's usually Meredith who gets
It
hurt.
is Meredith. Yeah.
Smacks Meredith over the back of the head, and then screams and just runs out of the room.
And then Toby says, "This is my fault."
This looks like a Coraline Creed or like a Tim Burton Creed. I think you can tell it's Creed. If you show me this and not told me it was Office related, I would probably say that looks like Creed from The Office, but I wouldn't have been 100% that is Creed.
That's from The Office fans. Okay, here's the third one. It is a. Well, what can you see here?
It's a jumper with a silhouette of the Loch Ness Monster and all of the things. Creed does a speech at some point. I think it's to help Jim out, and everybody else has backed out, so he has to get Creed to do it. And
I think it's Andy who asks him to do it, and then stands there embarrassed when Creed launches into his motivational speech by talking about the Loch Ness Monster.
I think he had 3, I think it was like Phyllis, Stanley, and Jim who were going to help him, and all 3 of them back out, so he's left with I think it's Kevin, Kelly, and Creed. And Creed just starts a speech he just said, these are the things on the t-shirt: 2 eyes, 2 ears, a mouth, a chin, 10 fingers, 2 nipples, a penis, a butt, 2 kneecaps. And then he just says, these words describe the Loch Ness Monster. And then I think he gets cut off before he can.
I believe next he says, do you know what would happen if you caught the Loch Ness Monster? You get all of the rich in Scotland. And he gets cut off.
And the only other thing I remember is Kevin coming in and doing that sort of he starts playing Crazy Train, starts running around the room to pump up the energy, and just gets exhausted and has to lie on the floor and breathe. So it's a great 3-hander alongside Kelly.
Now, this is a great one.
It looks like a Van Gogh.
I really liked it. I think it's a pretty realistic picture. It doesn't look that much like Creed, but he's got this kind of weird manic grin. He's wearing a white suit and a white tie. He would very much pass for a Lost character. Maybe John.
Yeah, I would say you can say it looks a lot like Creed.
Okay, I will. It looks a lot like Creed. It's very realistic.
The teeth are cool. He's doing that. It's there's one screenshot it's reminding me of where he is Creed's smiling, and he's smiling with all of his teeth. And I think it's that. I don't know what the white suit's for.
I don't know, but one thing that I noticed when I was looking for the art, and it's amazing that we've actually managed not to mention this tonight, is the clip where he's covered in blood in Halloween, and he comes in and he says that that was very, very good timing, and suggests that he was covered in blood for other reasons. Does not appear in anything tonight, but is in many ways the most iconic Creed image.
I would agree.
You can get a Funko Pop with him covered in blood.
Nice. I assumed you could. I knew there would definitely be a Creed Funko.
There's 2 or 3 Creed Funkos, and one of them is the blood one. Here's the last painting. This is from a YouTube channel where the guy talks and paints along, and you see him build up the picture side by side of Creed. And if you just look at it without seeing the picture that he based it on, it doesn't have quite the same impact. But I think it's pretty cool, actually. Some real weird colors and a nice caricature. This
would be Creed Bratton's favorite, I would think. It's very abstract and interesting. I do like it. I like, again, the big white mouth. So it reminds me of the smiling with the teeth out. It's up your street.
It's well up my street, and it's Painting with GP, I think, is the YouTube channel. So Chidsity, check that out. that's it. So you can purchase all of those things from the intranets and see them. And shall we wrap up this very first episode of Stars and Stage and Screen with a song?
I would like to point out before we go, my 3 favourite Creed clips I didn't include in this at all. The one where he introduces himself to Meredith in like season 3 or 4. There's the one where he says, if I can't scuba, what has this all been for? What has this all been about?
Yeah,
that
quote comes up a lot, yeah.
And then the one where they all have to write down a resolution, and his is to do a perfect cartwheel. And then Erin does one, and he just starts screaming and swearing at her.
There's about a whole bunch. I've got pages and pages of things that I literally copied off the internet that are facts about Creed, and maybe we'll sing some now as we exit this cast. So thanks for visiting us on the very edge of space. We'll develop that backstory over the next 50 episodes, but let's go. Who's going first?
You.
In gossip, Creed's got asthma. Creed becomes upset because it would prevent him from scuba diving.
Brief conversation between Creed and Meredith implies they had sex once, but Creed didn't remember.
Creed tells Meredith it's the base of operations for his cigarette smuggling operation.
From under the cushions, he digs out an old dusty cigarette carton.
Walkie-talkie planted in Jim's office. Creed can be seen becoming emotional.
Pam tries to avoid lunch with Michael and his mom by faking to have lost a load of paper. Creed appears worried.
Voicing his displeasure that Jim named himself Employee of the Month, Saber, when Pam's not even pregnant.
Have you tried making everything smaller?
Creed asks Andy for $10,000. Creed asks for Andy's herpes and $500.
Creed later explains that Darryl, who he calls Darnell, paid him $3 to walk by.
Great minds battling it out. I couldn't care less about nepotism.
Unfortunately, this ham-fisted production of Sweeney Todd, The Real Terror, comes from the vocal performances. New paragraph. The end.
Thank you.
I do want to mention one last Creed thing, but I forgot it with all the information in front of me, which is a shame.